So this is John, and he's the father of one of our children that's been doing the ADD, ADHD program here at Hanson Chiropractic, Neurology and Massage. So John, go ahead and just explain a little bit more as to what was going on with Ben when he first came in, and what kind of...
So when we first came in, Ben was diagnosed with ADD, and we had already gone to a doctor and a specialist, and they had put him on medication, and the medication caused him to lose quite a bit of weight very quickly. So they took him off the medication, and at that point we didn't know what to do, and we were actually a lady that we met mentioned Dr. Hanson, so we brought him in, and the issues we had with him were he really wasn't doing well in school. When he'd come home, getting him to do his homework was an effort on both him and his mother's part, and so it was really hard for him to really understand and really just focus on getting his work done. So we brought him in.
How long did it take him to do his homework when he first started, before he ever started treatment?
There were days where his homework would take him all night. From the minute he got home, he'd start on homework, we'd have dinner, and then he'd still be working on homework when it was time for bed. And, you know, math, for example, would take him anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on his attitude.
Okay. And so was it the kind of thing you had to continuously redirect him back into the homework and all that type of deal?
Usually what I would do is I would actually sit in the room with him and keep an eye on him, so when he'd start to do this thing where he'd look around the room instead of getting his work done, and then I'd have to remind him, and then sometimes he would just decide he wasn't going to do the work and send him to his room, bring him back and start over, and that's just sort of part of how it was with him.
Okay. And then what about his reading and writing? What was that like before?
His writing has always been an issue. His reading, one of the things we did have problems with is he'd read something and then he wouldn't remember what he read. So that was an issue always. He'd have to read it, I'd read it, and then I would have to help him understand what he read.
Okay. Now, what about now? How, after you've done the treatment program pretty much?
So it was really within about 2 months. Ben went from, you know, homework being something we pushed him to he'd start to just come home, and most nights he'd come home, play for about 15 minutes, and then go straight upstairs and just get his homework done. And it got to the point where it used to be he'd still be working on homework when I get home, to when I'd get home, almost all of his homework would be done. And we went from, you know, 2 to 3 to 4 hours a night of homework to 1 or 2 hours a night of homework. And it really was a matter of him just, you know, being able, I'd say this is the right word, to focus and get the work done rather than constantly be distracted by different things.
Yeah. And is he on any medication at this point?
He's not on any medication.
So he's
the only thing we've done different is he's not on gluten, because that's one of the things we found out when we came in, is that he was allergic.
And then prior to him coming in, was he on the medications prior to that, or had you taken him off?
We had taken him off, so he only was on medications for about 3 weeks, and in that 3 weeks he lost about 10 pounds. And if you see my son, he's really thin.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and so he's much less. He doesn't have that issue with distractibility nearly.
Not nearly anywhere to the degree he used to. There are times, but it's a lot less. It used to be 2-3 nights a week. Homework was a battle, and now it's maybe 1 night a month.
Okay, and then what about his grades? Did those improve? Or
his grades went from B's to A's and B's.
Great. Well, that's great. That's good to hear, and we'll thank you very much.
You're welcome.